So, James?
Thank you, and good evening. I wish that it would be perhaps a bit drier of an evening, but I guess this is a sign that spring has come and hopefully the unending winter storms have ended. Of course, we moved from winter storms to spring storms, so here we are. I moved to Ashland in 2005 as a Randolph-Macon student, and even though at first I was resistant to the town, I'd grown up in a small town all my life, and I thought I was ready for the big city. Ashland has this way of pulling you in. There's a sort of allure and appeal that holds you in the town. And so I stayed at Randolph-Macon until I graduated in 2009. I left the town for a while, but of course that never lasts for long, because less than a year later I returned and bought a house on South Taylor Street, found a job at Randolph-Macon, and opened up my own advertising agency in Ashland to help the small business owners in the community. When I did that, I discovered that there are so many opportunities to get involved with the community. And since Ashland has been so good to me every year that I've been here, I was thrilled to find an opportunity to get involved in any way that I could. So I started, as I was involved with small businesses, I started working on community projects. I helped direct a documentary about the motel homeless population, and I directed a documentary about the history of the Strawberry Fair, among many other projects. Of course, the more you get involved, the more you want to continue involvement. And when I heard that there were elections coming up in the town and that there was a seat open, I thought this was an excellent opportunity to let my voice be heard and to see how I could affect change in the town from a political level. And I realized that as I was talking to people, as I started the campaign, that there were some ideas that I had, there was a voice that I had that would really benefit the town. My platform, very briefly, is comprised of three major components. I love the town, and I love the way the town works. And so first and foremost, I promised that I want to maintain Ashland's identity. We have a wonderful community and a wonderful identity that's been established by the community, the small businesses, the people of Ashland, and that's an identity that we have to adhere to. Now, I also want to promote small business because Ashland is a community that's built on the backbone of small business. It's one of the greatest things about our town. And seeing the vibrance and diversity in our small business community, it really encourages me to try to help them as much as I possibly can. And finally, because I'm a bit younger, I've sort of become the de facto technology candidate, and one of the things that I really want to focus on is expanding and ensuring that we have adequate internet options as time goes on. Right now we're stuck with one provider, and we really need to expand that. I'd like to thank all of the sponsors here tonight. I'd like to thank you all for coming out and braving the weather, and I hope that this is an excellent opportunity for us to get to know each other. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, Faye Pritchard.
Thank you. I, too, would like to thank all the sponsors and thank Bill for being our moderator tonight.
I may need that engineer mind over here. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This morning when I was getting ready for work, as I do most mornings of my life, I was watching Murder, She Wrote while I brushed my teeth and fixed my hair, and wondering why I like the Cabot Cove episodes the best instead of the ones where Jessica is off in Europe or off in New York. And I started thinking about Cabot Cove and what it represents and Mayberry and how we think about it. And it's an easy answer. We love those the best because the romantic notion of the small town is a deeply American ideal. And I believe deeply and profoundly in a sense of place, in living in a place that isn't, as someone recently said to me, a bedroom community, a place where people live, a place where people put their roots and plan to raise their children and plan to raise their grandchildren. I heard recently from a state-level elected official that small towns should be gotten rid of. We should vote them out of existence because all they effectively do is collect extra taxes on top of what people already pay, and I beg to differ. what small towns do is protect a particular way of life. They protect zoning and planning and the things that don't seem very sexy on their surface, but make the place we live the place we live, or as our comprehensive plan says, what makes Ashland, Ashland. When I was elected 12 years ago, I had a very big agenda. I was going to protect Ashland forever from all the bad developers and make sure we stayed exactly the same. And as every new candidate who is elected finds out, about 15 minutes into being elected, first of all, your agenda is always skewed, and as it turns out, all developers are not bad. And second of all, you have a very short amount of time to pursue your agenda because the rest of the time you're doing a job. And running this town is a job. It's a labor of love. What I've tried to do for 12 years is to make sure that I work on preserving that small town atmosphere, that way of life that we all value so much, and at the same time balancing that with the fiscal opportunities to make sure we get to keep this small town the way that it is. That is my pledge for the next 12 years.
30 seconds.
Keep us, I think, at a steady pace, protect the jobs that we are bringing to town, the jobs that we have in town, and at the same time make sure that we stay Ashland and we keep Ashland Ashland. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And Terry Winston Abri.
Good evening, everyone. So happy to be here, so happy to see you all, and thank you, as everyone else has said, for being here. It's always good to know we have a few diehard Ashlanders who will come out no matter what the weather is. First of all, let me say that it was really not my intention to run again. I've received, over the last couple of years, I've received several phone calls from people in various parts of the town of Ashland asking me to run again. And, you know, what I do always, first I pray, and then I mull it over, and then I get my answer. And so I felt like my prayer was, the prayer being answered was for me to run again. I'm a person who is gifted in service. This is who I am, and this is what I do. I serve the people. While I agree with the small business, I also agree that being here in Ashland, I also feel that we need to look at other types of businesses, and we need to do surveys among the people to find out what types of businesses they want, you all want here in the town, so that we don't lose them, some of them, as quickly as they come in. If you say, okay, well, I want a Macy's or a Dillard's or some type of business like that, and we need to find people, our economic development coordinator needs to go out and say, well, you know, are you willing to come into our town? Simply because of the fact that you want to have a business that will be sustained and a business that the people want in the town, and hopefully it will stay. Over the last few years of being out of council, I wasn't just kind of sitting around doing nothing. I went back to school briefly and I became a certified licensed nurse assistant. I'm also a parent educator, and that's through the Supreme Court. I've also been assisting people with housing. I have a few homes, and over, I suppose, the last 15 years, I've helped people who were homeless, at least 6 families who have been homeless, and
30 seconds.
Only charged them what was needed to pay the mortgage. My goal is to work with the communities to make sure that people know what's happening in the town, and that the town, as well as the residents and the college, we're all working together so that we can be one happy family, if that is possible. I want Ashland to be an oasis, a place where people want to come because the people who live here
Time.
want them to be here.